This is UC Trends 2020, our series of video interviews taking you inside some of Silicon Valley's hottest technology companies. We'll be speaking to a leader within each business to understand more about its plans and strategies, but also try to bring you additional insights into the personalities and culture behind its success. RingCentral has built its reputation as one of the world's leading cloud communication providers by offering an innovative set of solutions across different vertical markets. We caught up with their Chief Operating Officer, David Sipes, to understand more about its plans and also get his views on the market in general. Dave, thanks so much for having us into the RingCentral offices here in Silicon Valley.
Thank you for showing up.
No, our pleasure. Again, thanks for having us in. Right. So first of all, I wanted to get a sort of understanding from you, from a personal perspective. How did you become involved in the communications industry, first of all, and how did you end up sitting here at RingCentral?
Well, it's been a while, but they're combined. So I've been with RingCentral for over 10 years now. I think it's kind of like a true Silicon Valley type of story where I got involved because in my previous company, where I founded a e-commerce company called Branders that ran for 9 years, I ran into actual business pain point with my communication system. And I was running hundreds of sales reps, and I didn't have the visibility and clarity into what they were doing. And I wanted more ability to kind of manage my business, and I couldn't do it with what I was doing. And I actually had my programmers go and develop a system off open source and install that. And I really liked the outcome when it was finished, but it took us like over 2 years, and there was a lot of pain along the way. So I said, someone needs to do this for other businesses. So that was the business pain point I experienced, and then that's when I got introduced to RingCentral, and we launched our Office product a few months after I started, and that's brought us to where we are today.
I bet you wish you could go back in time to when you were an entrepreneur and get a RingCentral platform then.
That's exactly right. So the product wasn't there yet, and there's reasons for that, but we did, RingCentral hit that at the right time, at the right place, with the right capabilities. And now as an entrepreneur, for any other entrepreneur or someone running a business, it seems like an obvious choice, but that's what it's always been our vision.
Yeah, well, it wasn't so easy in the past to do that sort of thing. So the growth at RingCentral and the valuation placed on the company is pretty extraordinary. What do you attribute the success to? If you could put your finger on a few secret ingredients, what would you put that down to?
I think one is we're fundamentally an innovation-driven company. It's part of our cultural values. We know it's critical for success for our customers and success for the business, and we see tons of opportunity for continued innovation. We spend over $100 million in R&D just in this category, and we grow that with our revenue growth rate, which is growing at 34%. So we're adding a lot into our innovation, but it's a mindset. As well as I would combine that with a customer focus mindset. So our customers got us into other categories early, things like going into team messaging and video, going globally where we're in 41 countries, but that was all driven off customer demands. And so I think when you marry those two things, the innovation focus, the customer focus, and then we've added to that kind of employee team focus, and just those are kind of core pillars or tenets of our culture.
You mentioned culture there, and I wanted to go on. One thing I really want to try and get the viewers to appreciate is what it's like to be inside one of these. And we were talking a little bit before we started recording, what it's like to be inside one of these Silicon Valley tech companies that's growing extremely quickly. What's it like when you come into the office? What's the personalities like, and what's the culture like?
Well, like you said, it's fast growth, right? We're growing at 34%. You're hiring almost half your workforce every year as you grow. And so, most of the organizations here in the last couple years, but it creates a lot of opportunities for really good people. And that's one big attraction of growth. As far as the RingCentral culture, we have that innovation focus, the customer focus. We're also here to make a difference. So we look for big impacts as an organization, as individuals. And then we try to augment that with casual interactions. So, we have things like the open cafeteria, and we think that fosters a lot of that innovation capability, bringing fresh ideas out, as well as that customer focus.
Yeah, it's a really lively office space. You mentioned the cafeteria. I was playing table tennis in there. I had to be dragged away for this interview, but it's a really fun place to work, and that's an important part of the ethos, isn't it?
It is, and it's family environment too. We have people bring their families in for that, because you spend in today's environment. You're spending time at work, and you're mixing your personal life here and on weekends or whenever after hours, and so we try to make that the best quality of life that you can have.
If we look back at the last 12 months, I realise obviously you're a RingCentral veteran over 10 years, but if we just look at the last 12 or 18 months, if you had to put together a highlights package, what would you pick out as your sort of standout moments or landmarks from the past year or so?
That's a good question. And there's a lot of things potentially. In the last 12 months, we celebrated our 5-year IPO anniversary, and we took a number of people out to New York for that celebration. We like to celebrate milestones. We expanded significantly our relationship with AT&T. We got recognized by Gartner for the 5th year in a row as leader in the UCaaS industry. We made 2 acquisitions in the contact center space with our Engage Voice, which is an outbound best-in-class capability, and Engage Digital, which is digital interactions for consumers with brands. And we signed one of our largest deal ever with Waitrose Partners, with 45,000 UCaaS users, who you might know as a UK company, one of the largest wholesome grocers in the UK. And we have, we just in our earnings announced we did our $31 million TCV deals in the quarter, up 60%, which has really kind of shown our growth in enterprise business, which is growing at 88% year over year, almost a $200 million business. So there's a few.
That's quite the list. And you mentioned a couple of the acquisitions there, and those acquisitions, Demelo, as you mentioned, for Engage Digital, it really has given you a very rounded portfolio. Do you think, and I'm assuming, as you were talking about before with your customer focus, that's something that you've been conscious of from a customer demand point. They wanted RingCentral to be able to provide more and more services. Do you think that's important going forward, that you can really fulfill all a business's needs potentially?
Yeah, I think it is. We came into all of those because of customer asks. And we got into video, we got into team messaging 5-6 years ago, very early. The Demelo the Demelo acquisition, which is Engage Digital, is similar. It's an interesting product where consumers or Gen Zs are communicating almost exclusively through messaging today, and they're messaging businesses through social media platforms or through Twitter or through in-app messaging. And it's difficult for businesses to staff all those and learn those different platforms. And the Engage Digital platform actually consolidates all those for companies so they can respond back to those consumers, back into their social media applications of choice, and allow them to more effectively manage their brand in the marketplace. So that's one example. But for us, being a multi-product company is critical. We see the convergence of the UCaaS suite, which is telephony and video and messaging. We have a unified application that increases productivity for individuals to combine all those communications, no matter, because we know people communicate different ways in different modes. That brings it all into one application. And then we're seeing interaction on the customer engagement side and having better communication with your customers, not just through your contact center agents, but all the way back into the organization. And so that is the focus of what our mission is in helping businesses communicate, is bringing all those communications effectively into one platform.
I wanted to talk to you about trends, and you already mentioned one there in terms of that, the rise in importance of digital communication for younger and future generations, and how important that's going to be in interactions with businesses. What trends do you see, whether they're workplace trends or emerging technology trends, that are going to impact your proposition as RingCentral? What are you looking at and thinking we're going to have to help our customers be able to either integrate this into their solutions or manage this from a customer perspective?
Yeah, I think and trends are key because we're all about empowerment of the users and the customers. We started with the big trend on mobility, a decade ago, and that was kind of what got RingCentral started. We're going through the digital communication or messaging transformation, both inter-company with team messaging, collaboration, and external to the company with our digital engagement platform. And next is integrating that into the rest of your workflows through, we have an open platform that has 2,500 applications that allows integrations into mostly other cloud applications that improve your ability to get things done. And then I think the next trend beyond that is really accessing that data and doing what I call like human-assisted technology. So we're seeing products evolve with our ecosystem for like agent prompting capabilities that allow agents to be more productive. I think there's opportunities on the employee side also. I think that's going to be a big trend going forward is human-assisted technologies.
I wanted also to ask you about your opinions on the market in general. So if we look forward over the next 12 months, do you think there's going to be any radical changes to the UCaaS or the contact center marketplace, or are we going to see more of the same as you were talking about before in terms of greater demand for integration and greater consolidation of communication methods within one platform?
Well, there's some bigger trends. We're seeing rise of line of business buyers, and it's, I think what's happening is the role of the technology buyer, the IT organization, is becoming more of an enabler instead of a gateway for the organization, and they're working with line of business partners more collaboratively, and so that becomes important for decision making in organizations. I do see the largest enterprises moving more to cloud. That has been one of the laggards, but with some of the examples that we've had with Columbia University also, we're seeing even education and the largest organizations, or even some of the oldest organizations in the world, where that organization's like 400 years old, or 300 years old, older than the country, moving to the cloud. So I think we're seeing those trends happen. And then looking for consolidation of platform or greater productivity for their users is another trend that we'll see in the upcoming year.
So Dave, lastly, if we could go forward in a time machine to the end of 2020 and we could look back at the previous year, what key elements would you want to be able to see that would allow you to know that the year had been a success for RingCentral?
Continuing our multi-product push that we've done in bringing all our portfolio together on one platform and having that integrated, bringing the customer engagement and the employee engagement together, seeing that come to fruition will be a key aspect. Obviously, having happy, successful customers and continuing our growth will be important also for the company, and having very high kind of employee engagement scores. I think those are the three areas I think about the most.
Well, Dave, thanks so much for having us into the offices and telling us more about the trends in the market and what you've got planned for RingCentral.
Thank you.